Hiya folks, welcome back to Test Tuesday. Today we are looking at screwing into the edge grain of MDF, and we're doing some pull-out tests on a whole load of different types of screws to see what type of screw is going to perform best in the edge of an MDF board. A little while ago we did some tests into the face grain of MDF, and we found that our trusty tiny little silver screw 4x16mm, this one tiny screw managed to withhold a peak load of over 100 kilos, which is amazing for one tiny little screw. And the reason for that is relatively straightforward, because as we've discussed last week when I was showing you all about the grain of MDF and how it kind of forms a grain similar to paper almost, due to the manufacturing process. So the fibres, the way the fibres are aligned in the MDF, it makes the face grain of the MDF very, very strong. But down the edge grain of the MDF, it is inclined to split into kind of layers. It's not made in layers, but it will try to split into layers. So you do have to take that into account. So I'm going to take you through a whole bunch of screws that I've got here, and we're going to do a strength test on all of them. Let me introduce you to the screws. So we've got the silver screw 4x16 posi drive head. This is purely for comparison, just to show you the difference between going into the face grain that we did last time with this particular screw and going into the edge grain. We've then got a range of screws that you would genuinely use into the edge grain of MDF. We have got a 3.5x38mm drywall screw, Phillips head. We've got a 4.5x45mm TurboGold screw with a posi drive head. We've got a 4x50mm gold screw with a posi drive head. We've got a Spax Specialist MDF screw, 4x50mm with a Torx head. We've got the Confirmat 7.5x50mm, although I've measured it and it's not 7.5, it's 7mm, but it's advertised as 7.5 for some reason. 7.5x50mm with a hex head, that needs a 4mm pilot hole. And we've got another drywall screw, coarser thread on this one, 4mm by 62mm, really big drywall screw with a Phillips head on it. What we're going to do for this test, by the way, it's going to be a bit of a two-parter. This week we're going to test these as they are. The only one that's going to get a pilot hole is the Confirmat screw, because that's got to have a pilot hole for it to work. You can't use these without a pilot hole. But this week all the other ones are going to be done straight into the wood, no pilot hole. Next week we're going to repeat the same test again, but we're going to pilot all of them to see what difference it makes doing a pilot hole first. Really, you should pilot them to try and stop the wood from cracking. But today, if the wood splits, so be it. Part of the test, we're going to see what difference that makes compared to next week's test, where we're going to do exactly the same thing. We shouldn't see any splitting next week. Let's crack on. We'll do the silver screw 4x16 as a bit of a comparison first. Remember, it got up to 103 kilos last time in the face grain. Right, so last time we got a peak of 103 kilos into the face grain. Let's see how we do into the edge grain. And that's it gone. 26 kilos. And it's completely ripped out the edge of the MDF. That is the difference between going into the face grain and going into the edge grain. Quarter of the strength. Let's go for some bigger screws and see what difference it makes. Right, so this is the first drywall screw test. So this is the 3.5mm by 38mm drywall screw. Let's see how this one does. looks like we've peaked at about 81 kilos there, and it's now ripping itself out of the MDF. That's it gone. We've got a slight split in the MDF. I'll try and show you. So I don't know if you can see, there's just a slight split in the grain down the kind of layered effect of the MDF. You do get that, but it's not done bad. It's just pulled all the fibres out basically. I don't think, even if that was piloted and it hadn't split the wood, I think it would be a similar result, but we'll see next week when I do the tests with pilot holes. But not bad. On to the next one. Ignore the little peaks at the beginning, that's just while it's calibrating itself. Right, here we go. And this is the TurboGold 4.5 by 45. Self-drilling tip on these, rifled shank, posi drive head. See how it does. Whew, that did pretty well. 157 kilos. Not bad at all. And it's completely gone now. Not bad. That's our winner so far. Again, it split the MDF a fair bit, that one, mind, but we've got a good peak load on it. I'll show you the split in a second. So again, quite a major crack down the grain of the MDF. But again, it's just completely pulled out the insides of the MDF. You can see where it's just pulled all the fibres apart. It's split the wood down the grain or down the layers, whatever you want to call it. As expected, but that's put up with a pretty decent load there, a lot more than the plasterboard screw, but this is a coarser thread on this compared to the finer thread of that one, the plasterboard screw that we tried before, and this is obviously a wider screw as well, a millimetre wider, so there's the difference of that one. On to the next one. Okie dokie, so this is the gold screw, 4x50mm. Bit of a longer screw, but slightly thinner than the previous one. Let's see how this one does. And that's it gone, 122. Still not bad, not as good as the TurboGold, but still not a bad result. 122 kilos peak load there. Again, it's split the MDF quite badly, but it's withstood a fairly decent load. Right, on to the next one. So, this is the first of the specialist MDF screws. So this is a quite expensive Spax screw. It's a Spax MDF screw 4x50mm with a Torx head on it. Of all of the screws so far, this has been the most difficult one to put in, just because it doesn't have the same kind of tip as the other screws. It's got this kind of self-drilling tip. On the plus side, this is the only one so far that hasn't split the MDF, which is probably a good sign. Let's see how it does. Okay, that's it gone, 130 kilos. And it has split the MDF in the end, so... Okay, it didn't split the MDF while it was going into the wood, but it has split it while it's being pulled out. Not a bad result though. I'll show you the MDF. So there you go, I don't know if you can see the split going down that side and that side. I'll take it out. Interestingly, the thread of the screw hasn't filled up with as much kind of MDF detritus as the other ones, but I think just because of the way this tip's designed, yeah, okay, it didn't split it on the way in, but it has split it on the way out. Not as bad as the other ones. Not done bad, really. Okay, on to the next one. This is an interesting one with a Confirmat screw. It's split the wood not only in the middle, but also towards the edge for some reason. No idea why. It'll just be something to do with the stresses building up inside the wood. I used a 4mm pilot hole on this one. I think what I might do next week when we do the retest with the pilot holes, I'll try a 5mm pilot hole instead and see if we can get it to go in without splitting the wood. Let's see how it does. Okie dokie, let's see how this one does. Confirmat screw. Second of the specialist MDF screws. Whoa, look at that. It's going, I can feel it going. That's it gone. 228 kilos, not bad. Nearly quarter of a ton. So you can see the MDF's completely destroyed basically. And it's split in numerous places all the way down the grain of the MDF, all along the edge there. We've got numerous splits in this. Let me find something to point with. So we've got a split running across here at the edge for some reason. We've got one split running more or less in line with the hole, and then we've got a secondary split running at the edge of the hole as well. So we've got 3 splits, but to be fair, it withstood nearly quarter of a ton on a single screw. So there you go. Pain in the neck to use, but by far the best result we've had so far. Last one. So this is our second drywall screw. I'm expecting this one to do pretty well. It's got a really coarse thread on it, and it's the longest of all the screws. This is 62mm screw, 4mm thread on it, 4mm diameter. Let's see how we go. Oh, we're done actually. 145, that's not done anywhere near as well as I thought it would. I mean, it's still not a bad result. 145, it's well and truly gone. But considering how coarse the thread is, it did feel like it had a really good grip in the wood, but it's really split the MDF. There you go. You can see it's got probably the worst split of any of the tests that we've done. Let's get it out. It's not done bad, but for me, the trade-off of using a Phillips head just makes these not a viable option for me. If you want to use Phillips head screws, it's outdated technology. And they're designed, at the end of the day, they're designed for camming out automatically when you're putting plasterboard up. That's why it's got the bugle Phillips head. They're not really designed for woodworking, but not a bad result. But Phillips free zone in this workshop. There you go. I shall put the results over here. But I'm not going to draw any conclusions from this until I've done the test next week with the pilot hole versions, and I'm also going to run a few extra tests just to draw a bit of an average between all of the results. It would be really boring if I made you watch these tests being run 3 times each, but on the results where they're quite close, I think I will run them another couple of times just to see how they come out. There's a reasonable chance that this isn't even going to make it out on the Tuesday, if it hasn't made it on the Tuesday. I do apologise, it's still a test Tuesday. No one will know in 2 weeks' time. But I'm off to the cinema with me son to watch Bohemian Rhapsody, so I'm quite excited about that, and it means sacrificing video editing for a night, but hopefully it will come out tomorrow. I know everyone gets very kind of personal about screw choices. Please take this for what it is. It's just a bit of fun. We're just doing a very rough comparison between different screw types in MDF. If you've got a favourite screw that you like using and you're comfortable with it and you're confident it's going to do the job, you carry on using it. For me, probably the main screw that I use in MDF is a 4.5 by 45. It's a very versatile screw that can be used in all sorts of other materials, so it's a handy screw to just have kicking about, and it's had quite a respectable result there. But we'll see how things do. As I say, I'm not going to draw any conclusions today, and we'll chat about it a little bit more next week. If you click on the link wherever it is it on my face or is it over there? It's somewhere on the screen. Click on that one, it'll take you over to the test I did of screwing into MDF face grain. And as I say, join me next week and we'll carry on with this test, and then I shall give you my opinions on it all at the end of it. I shall see you then. Bye.